Welcome back to the video blog. This is Fort Lauderdale on Ice. My name is Adam Daniel Mezei, otherwise known as Toronto, and I am at adamdanielmezei.com. So I have a tendency to go out to these kind of really dive bar type of cafes. I don't know why I like them. I like them because I find when I mingle with kind of the average Joe, when I mingle with people that are just getting by in a day-to-day capacity, people that have normal jobs, people that are carrying on 9 to 5 or whatever evening shift, night shift, graveyard shift existences, I find I get a lot of inspiration from people like that. Some of my best ideas come about in places like that. Not totally greasy spoons, but places that are kind of cheaper, you know, where the coffee costs like a buck as opposed to $5, that kind of thing. And I really just like hanging out there, and I find that if I just take a book with me or a writing pad, or I go unplugged and I just kind of observe what's going on and I let my five senses really get imbued with the place, you know, just whatever's going on in terms of the ambient sound or whatever things I see or what I write or what I feel, I find that it really carries me through the week, and I like to do it a couple of times a week because it really brings me some joy. But anyway, last night I happened to be out at one of these cafes. All of these places, of course, will remain nameless. I don't want anybody showing up and kind of just poking me on the back and saying, "Hey, Adam, what's up?" But basically, I was at one of these cafes the other day, and unfortunately, I try to like put myself at the far corner of a particular room because I kind of like getting the panoramic look of it all, and I also kind of like the isolation, or the sort of, you know, so-called isolation of it, just to be on my own off in the back there as, you know, everybody streams in and out of the door, especially at this time of the year when it's absolutely frigid. You know, everybody just bowls on in. It happens to be quite a busy room. Anyway, so lo and behold, I'm sitting there in the corner, and this group of people end up kind of rolling in and sitting right next to me. I don't know why, but they ended up being around 6 or 7 of them, and they were talking loud, and I couldn't concentrate, and I couldn't read, and that kind of ruins my zen, admittedly. I realize it's a public place, it's not a library, so people can talk as loud as they want, they can do whatever they want, as long as they're not really bothering somebody, and it's not a smoking place, so, you know, it's all kind of cool. But anyway, I kind of couldn't help but listen to some of the conversations that they were having, and most of them had to do with, like, the most inane things, like, you know, I don't know, can you spend like $12 at this particular dispensary to get this particular prescription? Or maybe if I go to this particular drugstore, it costs me $2 less. And this is the kind of conversations that like good friends are having. They seem to be good friends. You know, which insurance policy do I go for? Or what's on my plan? You know, what's on my minute plan? How many minutes are on my plan? Do I get 1,000 minutes to US and Canada? I don't know. Like, what's your plan like? My plan's cheap. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's really good. And stuff like that. Like, it was just basically the conversation that they were having as I was sitting around. And I was going to myself, here I am coming off of a 5-year stint in Europe, and I'm thinking to myself, man, that really sucks. Like, you don't really have anything else to talk about but, like, the most mundane, idiotic thing. Like, I could give you a stack of, I don't know, grocery coupons, and you can jizz all over that. Like, that's how excited you get about that. Do you know what I mean? And I thought to myself, that's really lame in a way. Now, every society being what it is, each society has its own challenges and conditions that it has to deal with. Every society really has to face the music in its own sort of way. So you can't say that this is good and this is bad, and you can't start bringing this kind of critical stick and beating the living daylights out of people with it, whooping their ass. You can't really do that. You just got to basically roll with it. But I thought it was really indicative, and I shared my thoughts in audio format with one of my dear friends, and I basically mentioned, you know, my displeasure, I'll call it, with the whole affair. My displeasure with the shallowness, or what I consider to be the real, not shallowness from the negative perspective, just the tragic shallowness of the fact that these people could have talked about something way more profound, you know, like a movie script, a plot, a book, you know, a television series, I don't know, something political. Give me some meat, something that I can talk about. But these people were talking about, like, coupons and, you know, like rate plans, and like filling up my tires with nitrogen as opposed to oxygen, or dirty oxygen, you know, and like, you know, the distance between, you know, this city and one of the outlying suburbs, and which road to take, and whatever, like, what's the toll rate on this, and how much tax I can save if I file on this month as opposed to that month. Like, ridiculous shit. Like, this is what people get together for on a Wednesday night to talk about. Like, you know, like how many minutes they get on their long-distance cell phone plan. Like, really? Like, really? That's really what people talk about? And these are like parents raising kids? Like, what are you teaching your kids? Yeah, I understand. Like I said to my friend, the sports parent's going to have sports discussions with their kid. The political parent, the author parent is going to talk about authorial kind of things. You know, the medical, the doctor parent's going to talk about higher order education. I know, to each his own and to each his due, not being a communist about it, just to say, I understand. But so, even so, I felt that was really, really sad. And I know I was in a dive bar cafe, so people aren't exactly going to talk about Shakespeare. But you never know. You can get surprised. I'm hanging out in a dive bar cafe, and I read a lot of books, so I'm not talking about my cell phone rate plan and how much money I can save calling the US and Canada. Like, really? Really? Anyway, I thought I would just share that thought with you. Thanks again for listening through my spiel, and as always, I wish for you many good things. That's a good cup of coffee. That's how they were talking. A good cup of coffee. Who talks like that? Fuck.